Welcome to the Mental Margarita Show. I have Paul and Linda Villanueva with us. They are the Mesquite Cafe Blues Band, the dynamic duo of Mesquite. How are you?
We're great, thank you. And how are you?
We are doing well, and we are so excited to have you on the Mental Margarita Show. You're a spotlight out there in Mesquite, doing so many wonderful things, bringing the wonderful gift of music to all of your neighbors. You folks have a beautiful story. And before you fell in love with Las Vegas, you're in Southern California. You fell in love with each other first.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about that. Now, before Paul, you're retired lieutenant police officer or police, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you were a drummer, then turned guitarist. We're going to talk about that some more. Linda, you sing, and you also got your degree from Loma Linda University in dietetics, which we're going to talk about that. That's exciting. I just learned about them being one of the blue zones of the world. So there is definitely some tricks. You're going to have to give us a tip or two. So, but before that, prior to that, now, were you folks both from Southern California originally?
Yes, we were both born and raised there. So it was our home. And we never thought we'd ever leave. So, yeah. I was born in Los Angeles, California. And Paul was born
Same thing, LA County. Yeah. And before
No,
we
you had worked in law enforcement too. Is that how you two met?
No, actually, his mother was my Sunday school teacher.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and Paul was on, he was touring and he was coming home that weekend. And she says, "You've got to meet my son. You're just going to love him." Well, all moms say that about their sons, right? So he came with his band, and they ministered to the church and whatnot. And one particular Sunday, it was after service, and she said, "Linda," she goes, "I'd like you to meet my son." And so he was behind his mother, and she goes, "Would you like to go out with my son and have dinner? He'd love to have a date with you." And he's looking behind his mother, and I said, "Sure." So we went out to this really nice restaurant, and towards the end of the meal, the check came, and he was fumbling around his jacket and whatnot, and he forgot his wallet. So I ended up paying for dinner, and it's a standard joke between us that he's been paying ever since.
Ever since.
So you've made up for it a time or two,
right? Oh yeah. And my advice to young men on your first date: don't leave your wallet or your Apple Pay at home.
It can go terribly wrong. And
it can go terribly wrong.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. That's fun memory for you too.
Oh, it is, yes.
That's how we met.
So 2015 marked the big move to the desert.
Yes, it did.
Did you come out for a visit and fall in love with it, decide to stay?
Well, we had a motorhome, and we've traveled around this area a lot, and we really liked Mesquite from the very moment we drove through here. And we stayed at a local RV park, and we just kind of started checking things out, and we really fell in love with Mesquite. We loved the people and the small town feel. We really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, we're so glad you're our neighbor.
Yeah.
And you were featured recently in your local magazine, Sun City Neighbors.
Yes, and we have a copy right here. Woo-hoo.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, Sun City Neighbors. Very nice.
Now, in addition to performing, and you guys do all kinds of music. You do a little bit of everything. Blues, rock, country.
Yeah, we started off with the blues, and then we kind of progressed in the classic rock, and then a little bit of country. We just started implementing into our repertoire. So
and you can be seen at most all of our local venues, from the Cinnamon Cafe to our local casinos to pretty much everywhere. Now you're very active in the community. Let's talk about that. You both are very devoted to community projects, causes, and continuing to be a good neighbor by helping. So you want to talk a little bit about the things you're involved with?
Sure.
Well, when we first moved to Mesquite, I had a bucket list. I've always wanted to learn how to tap dance, and lo and behold, they had the Mosquitoes, It's a senior dance troupe. And so I started in October of 2015, and I've been with them ever since. And we do 2 annual shows, a spring show and a winter show in December. And so right now we're working towards our spring spectacular show. And we do jazz, tap, clogging, and we just started doing some ballet. So I love all 4 of them for the dances, but with our schedule, I can only do 2. So I'm doing clogging and jazz this spring. So
how fun is that?
Yeah.
So see, now you add the clog, and then you don't have to worry about having a drummer, right?
Exactly. I love it because it makes all that noise.
I love
Right.
yeah, I love it. It's so percussive.
Yeah. And then they also have an organization called the Showgirls. And what we do is we dress up like showgirls, and then we go to ribbon cuttings and other fundraisers, and we welcome people, and so that's a lot of fun too. Everything I
Yes,
have is
it
dress
is.
up.
You know, that's something you never outgrow.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. I love it.
Nobody does. There are very few will admit it, but nobody does. We like it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now you have a motto. You want people to enjoy themselves, have a good time.
Yeah.
And Paul, you said something that stood out to me. When is your job done? There's something to your little motto.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That people have a good time, at least for a couple hours that we're playing music. They can just escape all the chaos, all the noise in their head and everything around, and just have a good time. And they can be with other humans on the dance floor or sitting down and just relate to humans
As people.
Not
That's the old-fashioned way.
yeah, no division, just and we love that. We played over Valentine's Day, and we played, and it was dinner hour, and everybody's eating and stuff. So we kept it real mellow and played softly. And there was a couple in front of us, and the woman got up and she came to us, and she had tears in her eyes, and she goes, "Thank you so much for this music."
Yeah.
So Linda went there to hug her because she thought something was wrong, and she goes, "Nothing's wrong. I'm just happy."
And that was like,
that's the epitome right there. It's like, boom, that's what it's about.
What we want to do.
We can play all day long in our studio and play to 4 walls, and it's just not the same. We have to be in front of people. We can record all day long, but a live audience and intimate is what we like.
You can't replace that energy.
No, not at all.
We feed off of it. They feed off it. It's a loop.
Yeah.
It's
a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Just being able to share our music with people and to see the smiles on their faces, and some of them, like to dance, and it's a really beautiful thing to see that.
Yeah.
Bringing people together, and they share tables together, and and they're very what's the word? Inclusive. Inclusive, welcoming. If you will, welcoming. Yeah.
And that's the way it should be, And at the Mental Margarita Show, we talk about what our escapes are and our passions and following our dreams. And I mean, I tried calling you 2 the other day, and you were at the gym. So it's really great when you can share healthy activities and be social and be fulfilled and do what you love, and meet some wonderful people along the way and touch them too with what you do. And it's a gift. It truly is. And we thank you, for having a business locally. And now 2023, you're winner of the Chamber of Commerce Award.
We were nominated for best.
Okay.
Yeah, best chamber in Mesquite. We were nominated. We didn't win it, but we were nominated, which was a big deal because we're the only entertainer, the only musicians in our chamber. Everybody else is business regular, and we do have a business license and stuff, but we're the only entertainer. So it was a big honor that they would even, our peers would even consider us. So.
And being present and being out and about in the community, that's what it's about, and people seeing you and interacting and engaging with you as well. And Now, Linda, your background in dietetics, this is interesting because you've retired to Mesquite. One of the things about is health and wellness
Yes.
on our show.
I
So studying in one of the blue zones where people
Mhm.
live the longest, and they also have a specific diet that aids with that.
Yes, they're
Is
vegetarian.
there
Mhm.
what's your top 3 tips you can give someone that they can make a change and modification to their diet that can help them live longer?
Well, for me, I believe in the 80-20 rule, because you can't be that strict where you deprive yourself of things that you love. But if you take care of yourself 80% of the time, then you can kind of waver a little at 20%. And I believe in eating fresh fruits and vegetables, fish, and avocado is really good fats, and protein. Loma Linda does vegetarian, but I'm not a vegetarian, so I eat a lot of protein, fish, chicken, some red meat, but a lot of produce, and stay away as much as you can from products that are, man-made.
All the
So-
processed foods.
Yeah, process stuff. Yeah.
Right. And well, that's great advice, and thank you. And we're always interested in learning new tips and tricks, and it's never too late to make a change.
No.
And you folks are living your best life and doing such wonderful things. How can the folks get a hold of you? How can the audience follow you, see where you're performing next, what we're going to be putting up on the show too, if you're going to be performing or have a charity event that you're helping with, we'll make sure that people know about that so they can participate. But what's the best way to follow you?
The best way, and I always tell people this, but it's hard to get them to do it, is our website. We have an email list, but our website is Mesquite Cafe Bluesband.com. Mesquite Cafe Bluesband.com, one word. And when you hit our website, right there, the first thing you see is join our mailing list. And I don't use it for anything else but to tell people, hey, we're playing here this week, or that's all I do is tell them that. That's the best way. The second best way is through our Facebook page. But you know how Facebook is. It's a business page. Sometimes it delivers stuff, sometimes it don't. And that's Facebook.com/Mesquite Cafe Blues Band. And but most of her friends just text her, hey, when you play? but that the best way is through the website. Yeah.
Great, that's wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you have coming up next and where you're going to be and sharing that with everyone. Thank you for visiting with us and for being on the show. And we really enjoyed having you. And you both have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you for
Megan.
having us. This is a
Appreciate
real
it.
privilege for us.
I got a whiskey love, drinking with a friend of mine. I got a whiskey love, drinking with a friend of mine. Too late for coffee, too early for friendship wine.
I got a cork-a-root floating in snake bite juice. I got a cork-a-root floating in snake bite juice. Snake eyes and the die rolling ace caught the deuce. Going down under, feeling the thunder, running the blunder. Oh, 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 a speeding time. Too late for coffee, too early for friendship wine.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the Mental Margarita Show. We are so excited to have Beehive Homes in Mesquite with us. And you are one of many Beehive Homes, but yours is very special. So Gerald Hamilton, your owner, operator, you've been in this business a very long time. So many, many years of healthcare management, and then moving over into the skilled nursing, assisted living aspect. And then your resident manager, Amanda Sepulveda, is with us. She has been also many years in skilled nursing and then also assisted living, very passionate about what Beehive Homes is all about, making residents have a sense of belonging and a feeling of home. And don't we all like to have a feeling of home if we cannot be in our homes? So we're so glad to have you. You two do such an important job in our community. And we thank you for that work that you do. Gerald, would you take a moment to just explain, you as you transitioned and went into skilled nursing facilities and assisted living, how important that is to a family's life transitions, as we approach the end of our life and we're caring for our loved ones. That transition sometimes isn't easy. And what's different about Beehive Homes that you want people to know?
Well, it is a difficult time of life for people. A generation or two ago, people took care of their family members at home and literally until they passed away, and they were able to do that. Our world today is a lot more complicated, and people, for various reasons, just can't do that all the time anymore. And so Beehive Homes offers them an option where we take care of them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Oftentimes we deal with family members that have been doing it for their loved ones at home, and they're just worn out because it's a lot of work. The nice thing about our setting is we've got different staff that come in, so we don't have the same people there 24/7 around the clock like the families do at home. And so we've got a small home-like environment. It feels like home. It's a small building. We only have 15 residents that live there. They get to be a family among themselves, but their families respectively come and join us and become a part of our family. And everything that's comfortable and safe feeling about a home is what people feel like when they come into our Beehive.
That's wonderful. And you offer, medication management, and there's 24-hour supervision and housekeeping, cleaning services, getting a home-cooked meal, all those things that seniors at some point aren't able to do for themselves. And they're so important to our quality of life. And it's, and socialization, being able to be around others is so important as well for their health and well-being. And is the Beehive Homes, is it typically, are they smaller in nature to where it is a little bit more intimate? There's fewer residents like that?
Yes, there's a couple of things. Beehive is a franchise system, and so there's a number of Beehive Homes, over 150 now around the country. But that's the concept that they started out with and that they've stuck with, and we have over the years, is a small home-based feel. Typically, they're not any larger than 20 rooms, 20 residents that live in the same home together. Some of them are a little smaller than that, but if we get much larger than that, then we lose what really makes us unique in the healthcare setting. I've worked, and so has Amanda, in the past in nursing facilities, and they tend to be much larger. And just because of their size, and some of the assisted living facilities out there are much larger than ours, they just can't maintain that personal feel that we do because of our small size.
And that's wonderful that you're able to show that attention. Amanda, you have quite a passion for taking care of people. And this has been you've done this most of your life, being raised in Mesquite area. This is very special, of course, to our community there, and having people feel at home. What's your favorite part about managing this facility and just being there to see all the benefits and things that are so wonderful for the residents?
I really think, like, coming from skilled nursing, coming from that bigger setting, it was a really big culture shock to switch to assisted living. And it was a really good one. I mean, bigger facilities, they have their place and they do their job, but you just can't get to know people on that personal level, not all of them. And I really love that, even though I'm a busy woman, I have time every day to say good morning to every single one of my residents. That before I leave for the day, I can say goodbye to all of them. And I can tell you everybody's favorite food, their favorite childhood memory. I can tell you all these intimate things about them because we sincerely become like a family here. It sounds a little corny to some people, but in such a small setting, it's basically like a big house with a bunch of siblings is the best way to describe it, but everybody has their own room. There's no bunk beds. I just love that we become this family, and it extends out to their families as well. I'm able to text or talk on the phone to most of my residents' families daily if they need me to, just to be like, this is how mom's doing. Look what mom did today, and send them a picture. I just love the intimate nature of how small our facility is.
And we're excited. The audience is going to be able to see some pictures of the facility and residents and the space that they enjoy their everyday in. Was a caregiver for a number of years. I had my grandmother who had dementia. She was with me for 8 years before she went into memory care, and it was difficult. And what helped me the most with making that decision was how the facility was and how kind they were and understanding, and being able to help us through that transition and making that choice. So what do you recommend for families? They're not sure. They come to you folks and they want to know everything that they should know about what they need to do to get ready.
Do you want to take this, Gerald, or do you want me to take it?
Go ahead.
Well, it is a difficult transition, and I think the biggest thing that families deal with is guilt. They feel like it's their family, they should be able to handle it, they should be able to care for and do all the things. And I think that is the hardest hurdle to get through. So I very much always ask, resident families, what are you looking for? What do you need out of this experience? And I think kind of, because a lot of times they come not knowing what questions to ask, and I think being as transparent and informative as possible and reassuring that, you're not abandoning your family member. You are doing something that's what's best for them, for their health, and for the caregiver's health, their family. When you're caring for your family member all the time, that wears down on your physical and mental health as well. And you're doing what's best for everybody, and there's no reason to feel guilty for it. And you can still be just as involved. We have families that come every day to see their family member and are still a part of their daily life, and that's completely possible. And we're so communicative here. Like I said, I talk to my resident families every day. So if we can just give them that reassurance that, you're not going to be absent from them, and they're going to be safe and cared for, and not only will they be a part of our family, you will too.
That's great. It's great to know. And of course, we want people to come and experience. Now, they can come and tour the facility and check things out if they're looking around?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We give tours all the time, walk-ins, or call and schedule one. We're always happy to show you around and show you the ins and outs. And our residents are always happy to talk about Beehive too. We have quite a few residents that they see me giving a tour or someone giving a tour, and they're like, this is the best place to live, or you'll really like it here. And they're always really encouraging, which is really nice, that especially for people that are scared and are apprehensive of what this experience could be like, it's nice for them to be able to interact with the residents that already live here.
Yeah, that helps the families feel really comfortable when they're in that time of transition, like you said, when it's really difficult. And like Amanda mentioned, if they come in and they talk to some of our residents, they see that they're happy, and the residents tell them what they like about living there at the Beehive, that immediately takes their anxiety level way down and makes them feel comfortable. And that's what we want. Our residents and the family of our current residents are some of our best salespeople. because they tell people what they like about us.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
No better review than that, right?
Right.
So Gerald, there's a few different areas of care that the Beehive takes care of. Can you explain? I saw respite care on the list.
Uh-huh.
What is that cover? Does that take care of them? Is that more temporary? If a family needs a break?
There's a couple different things that we do that the larger communities can't do or can't do very well. One of those is respite. And respite typically is where someone comes in for anywhere from 3 days to a week to 10 days, just to give the family at home a break. Or if the family's taking care of them at home and they're going on a vacation or they need to take care of some business, they can bring their loved one in and for, like I said, 3 days to 2 weeks. And we can take care of them, take that burden away from them. We love doing that because it gives people an introduction to the Beehive. And then when they have a need either for another respite or long-term placement in the future, they're already familiar with us. So respite is one thing that I think we can do really well. Another thing that we can do really well in our small setting is hospice care. And we've got a couple great partners in the community there in Mesquite, hospice agencies that work with us and provide that care at end of life. And we've got a nice intimate setting to be able to do that and make the families and the residents feel really comfortable at what can be a really difficult time in their lives.
That's great. And we want the audience to feel comfortable in that process and know everything that's available to them. What do you suggest they do first? If they want to follow, they want to check things out, they should see your website, they should come and see you personally. Now you have more than one facility. You have another facility in Nevada and then 2 in New Mexico.
Yes, I own some myself and some with some partners. Several of these Beehive homes in New Mexico. As you mentioned, we've got 2 other ones in Henderson. One of those is specialized in memory care. And so it's a little bit different level of care, a little bit different clientele, but they're all considered assisted living or residential homes is what they are licensed in Nevada.
So folks, we want you to call Beehive if you're not sure and just want to check things out. You definitely want to reach out and get all of your questions answered. And if you don't know some of the questions, they'll help you through that. And what's the best way for folks to contact you directly? You just prefer the phone call first?
Phone call, or you're able to, there's a feature on our website for chat and they'll ask your info and then I'll either follow up with an email or a phone number, whatever you leave with me. But whatever's the most comfortable for you. And like I said, you can reach out that way and I'll reach out back or just call and we'll get the ball rolling.
Wonderful. And I have one last question for you. The name of this show is called Mental Margarita. And many times we're very, very busy. Amanda, you're a working mom and busy in the community and doing so many different things. And Gerald, we'll get your answer for this too. But mental margarita means like, what's your escape from things? How do you find center? How do you get away from it all? Maybe something favorite activity that you like to do. What's your mental margarita?
Oof, I think that depends upon the day. But I think my newest mental margarita, it started a couple months ago, is I have jumping spiders now. Little regal pet jumping spiders. They're about yay big. They're super tiny. They don't need a lot of care and they're very loving and they're my nice little escape. I love going home and holding them, or what I call walking them, as they run around my hand or my arms, and feed them. And my kids love to help me take care of them too. So it kind of becomes like a family mental margarita. So I think that's my big one right now. And reading books. I've always been a big bookworm. I like to escape into other realities that way. So.
And what about you, Gerald? What's your getaway?
My getaway really is, I'll give you 2. One is is closely related to my work. I work a lot in my office, and because I have 9 of these beehives, I'd spend a fair amount of time traveling around between New Mexico and Nevada. But one thing that I really enjoy that helps me relax and helps me get back to center is just spending time with our residents in one of our homes and get down on my knees next to them and talk to them so I'm on their same level, or sit down next to them and talk just about whatever's going on in their lives. They've had rich experiences. They've done a lot. They've given us, the younger generations, a lot to be thankful for. And so it's nice to hear them. But in addition to that, I like doing just about anything outside. Paddleboarding, kayaking, biking, camping, anything outside brings me back to my center.
Wonderful. Well, we encourage people to definitely take a break from things and be able to enjoy everything that's around us. And we've so enjoyed having you on the show with us. Thank you so much. And
Well,
we're looking forward to folks being able to see your interview and meet you and come and check out Beehive Homes.
Great. Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got Amy Barbera in the building.
Woo!
And
Finally.
she is wooing. She is full of excitement. She is flying high. I want you to remember that word, guys. Flying.
Yes,
Hi.
flying.
How are you feeling today on the Mental Margarita Show?
I'm good. Feeling good.
When did you realize that you have this amazing talent? Was this something that was happening? Was it being developed in the small town, Hagerstown?
Well, I always knew, like, when you're a child, usually God reveals your gifts. We all usually, if we don't know what we want to become, or God somehow as a child reveals it. But so I always loved to sing. I used to sing with Annie, the musical Annie, and different things. But I didn't have much self-confidence. I used to we used to sing, a couple of the friends in the neighborhood, and I always was scared. But when I was I can't remember if it was elementary or middle school, I entered a talent show. And I did my favorite things from The Sound of Music. And I had a little dress and I got the teapot, and I ended up winning against the whole school. So that was God showing me at that time in my life that that's my destiny. But of course I didn't know it then. I actually won money. They had a cardboard with a piggy bank drawn on it. And they put all this change, quarters, so it was actually I won money. And it was between me and this girl, Renee Spelding. She was a dancer, and I won. So that was a really big moment for me as a child.
Wow.
But I really didn't believe in myself. My grandma always believed in me as a singer. She loved to sing. My dad was a jazz musician. Actually, he studied jazz in college, and then he went on to be a computer programmer for the State Department in Washington, D.C. But he had music. My grandfather was an organist, pianist. Wow. So he was in the lineage as far as music. And then I went to college in Hagerstown. I was in some musical theater, but it wasn't until I gave my life to the Lord. I actually went through the eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, and went through, which is a terrible thing. And I went through a year of therapy. I never had to go in any treatment centers or anything for anorexia. I don't know if you know anything about eating disorders. Anorexia.
I absolutely do.
Yeah. So this was the one I was really young. I don't have anything. And I've never dealt with it since, but so it was through that healing process is when I decided I needed to move away and pursue my dreams. Also at that time period, I developed vocal cord nodules. I was a cheerleader all through high school. My favorite all-time artist is Prince, which he's my favorite artist of all time. And
love him.
And I used to, sit in the basement when we had basements in Maryland, and I would put the music on and I would try to sing with him. And, he screams and he sing, of course I wasn't trained back then. So from all the years of, cheerleading and just everything, I developed 5 vocal cord nodules on my vocal cords. Now, the big singers, Whitney Houston had them, Celine Dion. I don't know if Mariah, Adele. And I decided to get the surgery. And I found out I had them because I was working at Pizza Hut at the time. I was going to college, and I was starting to have a raspy voice. It was, and so I got it checked out at ear, nose, and throat here, and I had 5 nodules. So I actually went through surgery at I think I was 19, 20. And having no idea, a couple years later, I'd be moving to Florida and God would call me to be a singer. So it was the devil was trying to steal through the eating disorder, through that. And so I got saved when I moved to Florida in 1996. 6 months after moving to Florida, I gave my life to the Lord. Immediately, my pastor, Pastor Tony, said, "You're meant to sing." I knew it was my calling, but I came to Florida to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. I also love fashion, so I went to school for fashion, but that was the time period where I was already healed from the eating disorder. I got saved, and then I started right away leading worship. He put me up there a few weeks after being saved. He said, "We want you to sing a solo." I decided to sing Amazing Grace. I was so scared. Oh my God.
gosh.
Oh my
You
Lord.
would have
And so
hearing, Amy.
I'm still scared when I sing live. But
Oh,
yeah, even Adele, have you seen her on interviews? She throws up and everything. She said she's petrified. Barbara Streisand, there, even the big. And I
Yeah.
watched the Whitney Houston movie. She was shaking like a leaf in her earlier days, back there. She had the most amazing voice. But anyhow, I sang Amazing Grace. A lady in my church, Patty, prayed for me. And after I sang, all these people were crying. And the assistant pastor came up. He said, "You're anointed by God to sing." So a lot of times when I sing live, people cry. People say, "Oh my God, it's an anointing you have." So I feel I'm anointed by God to sing. And I've had struggles throughout my walk with God in the last 27 years with my voice, but I've trained with so many teachers, and I've never had vocal cord nodules come back. So
what a blessing.
yes.
You know what? I thank you for sharing that, because, for any speaker or someone that's an entrepreneur, or it doesn't necessarily have to be singing. It could be
Yeah.
anything. You're going to be faced with adversity, and the devil is always going to try to steal your joy. But
Yes.
you didn't allow that.
No.
And not
No.
only allow that, you had a debut album. And the debut album, Beautiful Flower of Life.
I
So how
released
did
that.
it blossom into this album? And
Oh,
rightfully
well,
so.
I wrote my first song with my worship leader, Tim Jack, in 1998, I think it was, "Flowers in My Garden." And I just started working with different people. Ben Bagby is my main producer for the last 25 years. So I met different people on that journey from 1998 till 2007 when the album was released in, when was it? 2008, I think, because it's been so long, I can't remember. But so I worked with Ben, I worked with Jim Wallman, Gunnar Spardell, and just did a song here, did a song there, did a song there, and then the album came together. Back then, we still didn't really have the internet. I started MySpace at that time. My friend Jamie set me up. So people still made real albums. You know what I mean? Like, so I actually had a CD release party in 2008. My grandma passed away in 2007, December of 2007. So I went back to Maryland. I sang "Make Me a Butterfly," which is my signature popular song on that album, at her funeral. And with some of the money that I got from grandma after she passed, I was able to use that to print the album. You know how it costs money to do all that. And I had a nice party. And that was my first album release back in 2008. So, and things have changed. Like, back then, people just were on MySpace. I don't think there was any YouTube yet.
MySpace, yeah.
Just MySpace. So I started out there. My friend Jamie, "You gotta get on MySpace." So I've been on these social media from the very beginning.
And so now people are listening to this album. And not only are they listening, they're getting super duper excited. And what's this? "Make Me a Butterfly." It's doing its thing.
Yeah,
And
that song touched so many
it won
people.
awards.
Yes, it won awards. Well, actually, the video years later, people I used to put up these videos when YouTube first came out, when I first joined YouTube, of just like picture videos, but I never filmed a real video. And I met this gentleman, he passed away. It was like God sent him in my path. I can't even remember his name. I can't believe this. He was an older gentleman with a big beard, and he believed in my music. And he said, "You really need to do a professional music video." And I'm like, "Well, how am I going to do that?" Because, videos can be very expensive. And he started sitting down with me. He said, well, me and my friend, we do video. They were like small filmmakers here in South Florida. Well, I can't even remember his name too. And he ended up passing away several months after that of a heart attack. So we sat down and he started to do a storyboard. Well, of course, he passed away. And I met Xander Brandt. He was a photographer here in South Florida, but he's never filmed videos. But he said, I like to film videos, but I'm going to go ahead and he's a phenomenal photographer. I mean, he films look, when he comes, like the sports games are here, he photographs LeBron James. So he's established in photography, but not in video. So he said, well, because I'm not a professional videographer, I'm going to do this for next to nothing. This will be my trial run. So we picked different locations, and it wasn't a video we filmed in a couple of weeks. It was over a couple of years because we had to, I want to do things the right way. And each scene, it was like something God set that up. But the graveyard scene in the beginning, I was like, my friend April, who helps with my art direction, she's like, we got to film the first scene. I'm like, I'm not filming in a graveyard. She said, but Amy, the song starts out sad. You can't have this beautiful scene, We went graveyard hunting, and of course we were going to film during the day. And we found this graveyard in the heart of Palm Beach, Florida. It's the oldest graveyard. Of course, you can see in the video by the sun. And it was the most, we filmed there that day. It was so beautiful. It was like a spring day. I can't even explain it. It was just beautiful. And I wore vintage. I'm a big thrift store shopper. I always advertise that on, so everything that I wear most of the time and in videos is from a thrift store. So of course, when Macklemore came out with thrift store, my fiance's like, that's your song?
I love thrift stores. Are you kidding me?
I'm actually writing a song called Thrift Store Girl. I said, I've got to do a song.
Come on.
Yeah, we haven't even started recording it, but God gave me the song, and it's going to be country style. And I'm not even a country singer, but I feel like the way he's giving me the song, I have to do it in that style. But anyhow, we filmed it, and it turned out beautiful because it's more of a vintagey graveyard. And we were able, and then the second scene was filmed in a beautiful park by my house. And that one, it's just walking through the park. And then the final scene was in, what is it called? Highland Beach Mansions. And I was going to film on a regular beach. And my friend Tara's like, you can't film on a regular beach. Everybody's going to be around. Her friend was a dog sitter for this millionaire lady on Highland Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's the big, rich billion dollar mansions. And he's dog sat, and he said he had access to her mansion. And we got the private use of the outside of the mansion because they were remodeling the whole inside. So that whole, it was a pride, that pool was her pool.
Wow.
And my friend April, who was there, she's the one who said the graveyard. She's like, you have to get in the pool. I'm like, I'm not getting in the pool, because I'm in a dress. She's like, no, I think it'll be gorgeous. So we did the scenes of me running with the butterfly kite on the beach. And then the very last thing, we got me in the water. So it was a cool video because we really filmed, now with all this AI technology and graphics and stuff, people don't necessarily have to go to these locations anymore. But back then, so it came together. And then I had 3 different editors till it was right. And then I put it up, and then people said, you should go on Film Freeway. I don't know. Have you heard of Film Freeway for film?
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody. Cannes is on there. What's the other big one? Sundance. I mean, you can submit your films to those. A lot of those big film festivals don't have music video category. So I started submitting, and that's when I started getting selected.
And you started awards.
I started winning awards. The big one that I won that year was the Detron TV. She's in Vegas, I think, or Arizona. Deandra's her name. You would love Deandra. She's amazing. I think she's in either Arizona or Vegas. I can't remember, but I won the quarter, and then in the end of the year, she said and I wasn't even in a place at that time. My dad was really sick and dying, and that was Christmas time. And she said, you made the finals. She said, you have to have people vote. I didn't even have people vote. It was a very stressful time. I ended up winning anyhow. So I know that was God because nobody knew. And she said, well, everybody on my end are voting for you of the 4 people. And I ended up winning not only a trophy and a certificate, but I actually won money. She sent me money. So that was a plus. And her and I have become very, very good friends. She's amazing.
Wow.
She does more hip hop. She's had hundreds of albums released. She does her own fashion line.
Unbelievable.
Her mom passed away, and then my mom passed away several months later. So we've been able to be support. So these film festivals, I've become friends with these people. I also, the international, the reason I'm talking about International Christian Film and Music Festival, that
Yeah,
in
you did
2020
that.
well, they nominated me, but I just found out last Friday that flying was selected. And tonight I find out they're making the announcement if I'm a final nominee. I found out
What?
Friday night. I haven't made any announcements. I submitted flying to the International Christian Film. I ended up getting selected for Make Me a Butterfly back in 2020, but because of COVID, they couldn't have the festival.
Oh, they
So it
couldn't
was
have.
all virtual, and I ended up being selected, but I didn't win. Wasn't nominated that year. So with flying, I said, let me submit again. And it's been 8 years. This festival it's a big festival, Christian festival, 8 years. And they said this year was the biggest submissions ever in all categories. So
Whoa.
I made the selection finals, which they only picked 19 music videos of all the hundreds they got. And of course they had the short films and the document. Tonight, they're doing a video thing showing who are the final nominees. If you're a final nominee, then their award ceremony is in Orlando in May. I think I might even I don't know if music video people have to perform, but they said music category people have to perform. So I'll find out. But at least I got selected. I just haven't made an announcement yet. So that one I got selected for then. And then there was many others, Clausing Magazine, Rome, I think it was. I have it written down. There's so many. I can't. Global Music Awards, the Global Music Awards in California.
The Global Music Awards, Spotlight. You were a Spotlight Bronze winner of the Spotlight Short Film.
And that's in Atlanta.
People's Choice Awards. Artist of the Year.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
What is this? I mean, come on. This is crazy. Best
It's
new
the Holy, it's the whole, and I don't even feel like
Holy.
It's the Holy Spirit, because
it's the Holy Spirit.
And you know what it is? It's
Yeah.
other avenues for artists than just having to get their music out there. You can do other things. Like you have to be creative and say, okay, and remember 2020, everything was shut down. So that's when I started submitting. If you see most of the awards then, 2020, 21, 19, because everything was shut down. So it gave you an opportunity to still feel like you had something going on, but
and that was very smart of you. You know, it's that you remained active. And not only were you active, you were going through a healing process with a lot of things that you had going on. Now let's talk about the healing album, because you had a healing album, right?
That was in 2015.
Breath of Angels.
Breath of Angels.
This healing thing was part of you for a long time. Tell me about that.
Well, I was taking a yoga class at that time, yin yoga. It's like just a very calming yoga for anxiety and stuff. And I was in the class. It wasn't a Christian-based class, but I felt like the guy who taught the class, he just had such a beautiful spirit. And he would say, "Now just breathe and love yourself." It was just yin yoga is a kind of yoga that is just about healing. It's not really not any of the spiritual side of the yoga,
Right.
And I was in the class and the Holy Spirit spoke to me. I want you to do a healing meditation. Just very, laid back. So I already had Make Me a Butterfly one day and all these songs. I said, I'm going to make meditation remixes because over the years I worked with a DJ named DJ Michael D who would do dance remixes of some of my songs. So I said, why don't we do like meditation remixes? So I worked with this amazing guy, producer that I've known for years, Denny Tate. He's really good at that kind of music. We sent Ben and I sent the vocal files, and he was able to create meditation remixes, just like a DJ would do a dance remix. And then we did some new songs like Breath of Angels, and we Paint Me a Rainbow remixes, an old song, but just a few new ones. What's the other? Rest in the Lord. I actually did that song with a hip hop artist. He was always wanting me to work with his tracks. He'd send me tracks, and I just resonated with the track he sent me. He was wonderful. And so it just came together. And back 2015, still people were printing CDs. It wasn't really like, we had everything up by now, but so I had another big party. It was like a wedding, actually. I learned how to plan like a wedding because I had it. I had full catering. I had a full show. I had to get I wanted a decorator. I did it kind of Middle Eastern looking. Even though I'm a Christian artist, I like creativity. So I said, I went out with the decorating lady that I hired, and provided all the stuff, and we had a beautiful party. And at that time, my parents were well, and they were at the front selling the CDs, and it was just a beautiful. There was like 100, both parties. Well, the first party was a little smaller. The second party, I had about 100 people.
Wow.
And it was in this church, this small Methodist church by my house. They happened to have like a small chapel beside their regular church, and they rented it out for weddings, and it was perfect. It had a stage, and and they didn't really charge that much for the actual venue itself. So that album, and so much work doing an album and doing a release party, and
so much. People
tons
don't
of
realize
work.
how much work there is, and you continued with that work. You kept going.
Yeah.
You kept going. You kept making progress.
Yeah.
Eventually you're starting to walk. Eventually you're starting to run. Eventually you're starting to fly.
Yeah.
Now, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about this song, Flying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Flying is on actually Breath of Angels. I worked on that song with a concert pianist named Doug Hammer. He's a very established artist. If you look him up, he's just a pianist, but he's like on everything, on all the, what is it on the radio? What is those, or when you turn on your TV and the music channel, like soundscapes, and he pours and he does like and it's all original piano. He's released so many albums.
Wow.
And we connected through a producer I worked with, Doug Gunnar Spardell, years ago. And when I heard Flying, lyrics came to me right away. So it was originally his song, Flying High. And I wrote him and I said, Doug, because he already knew me, he loved my voice. I said, I wrote lyrics to your song completely the whole way through the song. And at that time, I think his wife had some illness going on and he wasn't in a place. And I was like, okay. About a year later, out of nowhere, it was like a new year, he contacts me and he says, are you ready to work on Flying? So I called him on the phone and he had me sing just a couple lines because it was just piano before. And then we did a derivative copyright, and we decided, because his original version was just piano. He said, well, we can't name it Flying High because I already have this song established. So we did a derivative and we changed it to Flying, and my producer Ben added strings to it, and he's a violinist, so he played, I think it was viola on it as well. And I recorded it, and Ben helped arrange the background vocals because I arranged the regular vocals. Ben's like amazing with the vocal arranging, and the song came out. So when I decided to do a video for another song, I picked Flying. And, of course I had this vision. We couldn't be in the sky, obviously, to film. So we filmed green screen in a dance studio.
I love it.
Me and Ben and my friend April and Elisa helped, and we had a big fan to make my hair blow, and Ben was up on a ladder, and and we filmed several scenes, and I had a vision of what I wanted. I wanted to be in this, I wanted to be in space, and we filmed on different days. And I said, Ben's a professional dancer too, so I said, I want to dance, and I'm not a dancer, but we did the leaping, which I did 100 takes of the leaping, and believe it or not, the spinning parts, I'm really spinning, and I'm in these dance shoes that are like and it makes you feel so sick in the dance studio. I'm spinning to get that effect and I felt so nauseous. But Ben's like, trained dancer, so he's like, you got to focus on. So we really, it was really, everything was really filmed, but it was green screen. And then it was hundreds of hours of work. Ben and I sat down together at the computer and found backgrounds, and I had a vision, and we did it together. He's the one who did all the technical part. And so I became the creative director, and he was the regular editor, director, and we did it together.
Right.
he knows how to do all the equipment side. And it took months and months and months because you have to find all this footage, stock footage to use.
Yeah.
And then all the footage that we got, I'm very particular. So I had to go through. It's like, and I did that with Make Me a Butterfly. It's so much work editing because you have to pick out what you want to use minute per second minute. It's not something that's like,
Not that
what is it?
it's not that easy, guys.
No, the editing part. Especially if you want to look a certain way, you're like, oh my gosh, you've got to pick things where you look good in the video.
Right. Come on now.
So we got that finished.
Beautiful.
What is it?
You guys did absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of work, and I drove in absolutely crazy because down to the last minute, I changed things. The ending, I had like literally the last week when I was getting ready to put it up on YouTube, I said, Ben, I don't like the ending. So we came over. He knows I'm a perfectionist. We changed the ending. I already knew about Film Freeway, so I started submitting, and I submitted to festivals, but no really local ones like where I could go to. And then I won Flow Film Festival. That was my first local film festival. My mom passed. I was a caretaker for the last 3.5 years of my parents. My dad had a massive stroke. He had a small stroke at the beginning of 2020 before COVID. He got recovered from that. I was already taking care of my mom, who was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk anymore. My dad was perfectly healthy, looked young. And then he had a massive stroke. Was it like 7 months later? Like massive, where he was left on a feeding tube. He couldn't really walk or talk. He couldn't talk or walk barely at all anymore. And that was a very hard time because COVID was still here. Everything was still in lockdown, so we couldn't even go see him. And my mom, of course, was disabled. So it was like a really stressful 3.5 years of my life. But I took care of my parents. I learned a great deal about myself, and I learned about servanthood. I learned a lot that I could share beyond just the music. And it was just, I learned a lot about aging and about, my dad, thank God, had a good job and had good insurance, and everything was set up. But my sister and my dad suddenly had the stroke. We had to figure out his bills and everything. It was very stressful. So Dad was still alive at that time, and I remember we brought him home. He went into rehab for 8 months, brought him home for a couple months in December, and I was changing his diapers, taking care of my mom. My sister was like, you're going to end up dying, because no one person, we had him on hospice, and we ended up having to put him in a facility because he was in the VA. So they said, if you keep him home, VA won't cover 100%. But if you put him in a facility. So I sat in the corner crying.
Yeah.
Because I felt so bad, but I did everything. I mean, I learned to change his diapers. I learned the feeding tube. And even with the help that we had, it was too much. So my dad was in the facility, Manor Pines in Fort Lauderdale, and I showed him the video. He always loved space. My dad was a real space person. So I really felt like, and when he saw it, he could barely even talk, but he's like, this is beautiful. I mean, he was spoken out as best as he could. So he got to see the video before he went to heaven. He ended up dying on my birthday, July 11th, 2022, shortly after I released the video, months after. And so I had that stressful period, but at the same time I had submitted and I was winning throughout the years. But it was all places away, and we were still locked down in that time period.
You were away. Let me say this.
Oh my gosh.
Eastern Europe Film Festival.
What year was it?
Gold Award and the Hollywood Gold Award.
Oh, that was in that one. And I couldn't go to some of these because some of the festivals weren't really doing festivals live. So, but it still helped keep me boosted, because when you're a caretaker, it's a very stressful job. You're watching your parents go down. I couldn't do much because it's full-time work, it's like I couldn't. I even had to turn down people wanted to interview me or have me come do things. I couldn't do it because I was taking care of my mom.
Yeah.
So right after my mom passed, March 10th of last year, was a year this past Sunday since she passed. I had entered the Flow Film Festival, which is a local film festival. I totally forgot about it. And like literally 2 months after, they said I was picked as a nominee. So I was like, okay. And Kimberly writes me, we want you to come sing. You're a nominee. And I was like, no, my whole spirit. I got so nervous. You get that nervousness because my mom had just died. I was very nervous. I haven't performed live in so long. I just felt I wasn't in a good place. But TC's like, you have to do it. And everybody's like, you got to do it. You got to get past your fear. And thank God I did. And I went and ended up performing not only for their opening ceremony. People, when I performed, I got to talk to my parents, were sobbing. Like this girl, Cara, she said, I don't even cry. She was like literally sobbing. And Kimberly, the head.
What a beautiful song.
Well, when I sang it live, Kimberly, the lady who's the head of the whole festival, she's like, I have never experienced this with a singer. She said, I literally felt like it was so powerful, like it was the anointing. She said, I've never experienced, and Kimberly's African American, or she's Korean. So, when you go to African American church, they really are anointed to sing. But she said, I've never experienced that with any singer. I was like, what?
Right.
Like literally felt like her whole, and it was the anointing of God because I was so scared. So I'm like, I did it. And then I ended up winning. A week later, there was their awards. I ended up winning the final award. They had me perform there, which, I had already done it the week before. So that opened the door for me to, okay. And then Laurel had her Holocaust Jewish film, because she's a Jewish girl. She said, you need to really submit to more local film festivals. So I did the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival, which is a really big one in South Florida. And sure enough, in November, I was selected as a finalist, and I ended up winning. And that when they gave me the award, it's up on my YouTube channel, my awards section. I could not believe that, because Hollywood, Florida Film Festival is a huge festival. They're sponsored by Regal Theater. They had the most expensive champagne in the world sponsored it. So when they had their opening event, they had to have police there because it's like and they don't make you pay. Some of these film festivals, in order for you to go there, like Flow didn't make you pay either. If you were a nominee, you get into everything free. They give you a real trophy that you don't, everything was done professional. And I was selected, but I had no idea I was going to win. So it was the same way. It was a whole week festival. I went to the opening, the final, which is November 11th. I can't remember the exact date of last year. I was so scared, and they called me up, and that was their first year to have music video category, because this was their 5th or 6th season, but they never had music video. And Simona said, so we had music video submissions every year, and people would submit it in short film, documentary, but we never accepted it. So we finally decided that, last year to have, and I was the first. So they made it a big deal at the festival when they were announcing all them. So they did my category pretty much last. They said, we're going to make this a big deal because it's our first. I got a lot of time up on, I got to speak for like 10 minutes. Not only that, they asked me to perform, and I wasn't even planning on it. So I wasn't nervous per se when I went to the awards. I was nervous that I didn't know if I was going to win or not. But if I would have known that I had to sing, I would have been petrified. I get up there. Simona's like, Amy, I had my trophy in my hand. I gave an acceptance speech. You'll see it if you go on YouTube. And she said, we want you to sing. I'm like, what? I wasn't prepared. They had the music from the week before, but Ming is the guy who's the other owner of the film festival. I ended up singing it a cappella, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. And I got to talk, and it was my parents, I got to talk about I felt like it was my parents, because I just won Flow several months before. And then all of a sudden I win the big award in my category for this one. And they really gave me a lot of time to talk. I encouraged people in their dreams, not just about myself, but, and it's such watching like the Oscars, the Grammys. And of course, I don't know if I ever win a Grammy or win anything like that, but the feeling, even in a small, I can't explain the feeling of I got to feel what it feels like to be them, like a big celebrity, and get up there and people are screaming for you. And it's such an amazing feeling. It was one of the best days of my life. I can't explain it. It's like you're in a dream. Like, is this real? Even though it's not anything like big, like the Grammys or anything. So then right after that, the Welling, what is it?
It is big.
Well, because you got to start somewhere, and also
It's
people
very.
and I'm so
Let me just say this. You know, your parents were sitting there watching this big experience for you, and that's what makes it probably the biggest thing that you'll ever do. Because, I mean, the timing of that, and for you to go through that, and to finally come out of that, and to just get the glory. That's
yeah,
amazing.
that's what it was. I felt like it was definitely my parents and God, because I had to sit back for 3.5 years and not do anything, and and not be out there. You see all these people out there, and and I myself, I am like, consider myself like an anointed artist for God. So I want to be myself. I don't want to be out there. There's nothing wrong with being out there, doing the clubs and doing cover songs, like being in cover bands. I don't mind that. I don't, but I just don't feel like that's me. And I'm like, well, I'm not really out there like all these other people every weekend at a club doing, or at a wedding. I've never felt that's the direction I should go. I just feel like, even though I might not be doing as much performing, at least I'm out there being me, That's what I loved about Prince so much. And artists like Prince, I'm drawn more to original style artists that really write their own songs,
Right.
that are original, that don't follow trends. They're just who they are. And they're like,
Who
Prince
they
is one of the
are.
best. Who they are. He's the
That's
best. Yeah. Rather than trying to be like, oh, I should do a song because this is the trend at the moment. I've never been into that. So right after the Hollywood Florida Film Festival, the Wellington Film Festival in Palm Beach wrote me and said I was selected. So literally a week after that whole festival, I was so tired. It was the week of Thanksgiving. They said, well, you're a nominee. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I drove to Palm Beach. They
Oh my God.
screened Flying. And I told the guy, I said, I'm not going to be able to come to the award ceremony because it's the day before Thanksgiving. I mean, I had to pick up food. You know how it is the day before Thanksgiving. I don't even know why they would schedule it, but they did. And so I was screened, and he gave me my award and certificate right after. So I won literally 3 local festivals, and the end of the, right after my mom passed. And I got trophy, and the trophy from the Wellington one is like heavy. It almost looks like an Oscar the way that they have it, but it was like a really nice, they're all nice, but so that happened. And then of course, January hits, and I had come off from this big high of all this stuff happening, and then Christmas, and then I got sick. And then I went through a very low period in January. I was really depressed. I was sick. I didn't have any appetite, lost some weight, and I didn't want to lose any weight. It was just and I think the grieving period hit me then, because my mom died March 10th, but I had so much going on. And then even before that, I wrote a song called We All Want to Be Loved. And my producer and I had been filming scenes over the years, and I wanted to do one final scene with my friends. So I filmed in this beautiful location called Jazzy's Hideaway in Fort Lauderdale, which I found them through the Flow Film Festival. That's where they had their awards ceremony. So I had this big party. We did a memorial to my parents. We did a balloon release. So it was like a memorial to my parents and a video filming party and everything all at once. So I had that. And then I was in a fashion show. Believe it or not, the lady from Naomi, from the where I had the event, she held an African American. It was like from Nigeria or one of those countries. They had a fashion line coming down. I was the only Caucasian girl in the event. I was the only older person in it. And she said, we want you to model. I'm like, all these young models and me. And I was like, but it was so amazing. I wore all African clothes. That's actually on my YouTube channel. So I was like, this is so weird, because I'm not even a model. But Naomi saw something in me, and she's like, I think you should be in the fashion show. And I'm like, really? And it was it was the most amazing experience. I was with all young African-American kids, like in their 20s, professional models. And here I am. But it was everybody, people loved me. I was just myself. And the people that put on the fest, I can't remember what country they were from. It was not Kenya, or name some African countries that are really, it wasn't Nigeria. That has the really good fashion, and I have it on my YouTube channel. But they were actually the reason they found out about Jazzies is because their film, they came all the way from Africa for the Flow Film Festival, because they did a film in this area of Africa called Sodom and Gomorrah. It's like the worst impoverished area. They were very wealthy. I can't remember what country though, not Kenya, but one of these countries, and they flew all the way from Africa for the Flow Film Festival. So they knew about Jazzies too. So they wanted to come to America to put on their fashion show from the fashion from Africa. And they had a lot of money too. They were very wealthy Africans. So they came here to Jazzies. I had my party at Jazzies they had, and it was beautiful. And they had, they brought people in, and I wore all the African. It was amazing. I had not to go on. So I even bought one of the things. It was amazing. But so I had that. And then the reason I'm telling this is I was nonstop busy from the time my mom died all the way. And then when January hit, when I didn't really have anything planned, because when you're used to this things happening, I got really sick. I had no appetite. I took an antibiotic, and even after taking it, it wasn't like I was nauseous, but it was like this, I don't know how to explain it. I'm like, something's wrong, but I guess antibiotics kill everything in your gut.
Literally.
And so it took me a month to get back, and I went through a very depressed period. I was crying a lot, and I think the grief hit me then.
It hit you then.
Because I got to, slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
But in that time period is when I had, there's so many different things here. Where is it? I have it written down because I said, if I forget anything here, I had the World Entertainment Awards in January. World Entertainment Awards is in Los Angeles, and I had submitted back in November. My jazz musician friend, Yulia, submitted. She only does jazz piano, so no singing. And I saw that she was nominated for her jazz album that was just released. And she's winning a ton of awards for her album, and she's charting on regular jazz radio. So anyhow, I said, you know what, let me go check this out. And it wasn't part of Film Freeway. And I said, let me submit my music. And it was a long submission process. You had to put a bio about yourself. You had to put all your website. It wasn't just one particular video. Everything. Never heard from them all the way through November, December, January. So I said, well, maybe I just didn't get in. I was at the lowest point, still sick. You had contacted me. That you were a blessing too, actually.
Here comes the angel.
Yeah, you came, and then all of a sudden they wrote me November 20th to say I was a nominee in the best newcomer category. But their event was in Los Angeles, near where the stars are on the street, February 2nd. And I was still not in a place, and TC's like, I don't think it's a good, and I didn't feel well at that time yet. So I didn't end up going, but Yulia was able to film. I had to do a video like we're doing and send it to them. And they featured just a little part of my video of me talking about being thankful that I was nominated. They actually screened it during the awards ceremony. They screened all the nominees' videos. And so Yulia was able to film that. And even the actual award ceremony people told me they were going to. So that, at least I had that. And I didn't win the final award in my category, but just to be nominated, it was like God was using that to lift me up. And then I had submitted for the International Christian and Film Festival last year. And I just found out Friday about that. So I find out tonight if I'm an actual nominee. There was 19 of us videos.
We're excited.
So they put me number 7 on the list. That's my favorite number. Friday night they did a big video announcement, and they said best music video, and then they named them all, and they picked Flying, and it went on their website. So, and Ben and I are in the middle of, my mom and I started recording the song Smile. You know the song Smile? Michael Jackson, it's his favorite song. Yeah. we started recording in 2021 when I was taking care of her to lift her up when my dad was sick, and we never finished, but we had all her vocals. Plus, when my mom's brother died in October, right before my dad died, we couldn't go to the funeral. So we made a video for the funeral and we sang Smile together a cappella. So Ben was able to take the vocals we recorded of her, plus those, pull them from the audio. And it's finally done. I got the licensing rights. I did it the right way. And I'm going to be releasing a video of Mom and I singing Smile together before Mother's Day. And she's got the cutest voice. She almost sounds like, you know, like as a kid when you watch Christmas movies, like a year with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, how the voice and Mrs. Claus would sing. That's how my mom's voice was. That old, almost like feeling. And so Ben did the music from
child.
Yeah, you'll hear it in her voice.
Feel cozy.
And she was sad and mad at me because she said, we're never going to finish the song. But she ended up having a stroke several months after Dad died, which left her with aphasia, which, you know, Wendy Williams, I don't know if you've seen the Wendy Williams documentary. Have you seen it?
Terrible.
You have?
Yeah.
I love it. It made me cry. We just watched it last week. I watched the whole thing in one day.
Really sad.
She has aphasia. My mom had aphasia really bad, where she would say, she's thinking she's saying something else, but she's saying Amy, 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 Amy. So we couldn't do any recording, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do have videos of her and I together, even singing then when she's in her last days. But we got good recording from the years when she didn't have aphasia, and it turned out so beautiful. And we're doing a video of me and Mom together that we filmed, that I used to film with her in the room just to put up on YouTube for fun. And we're using that. So that's going to be released before Mother's Day. And then I have.
That is going to be wonderful.
My producer, Ben, thinks that a lot of people are going to be touched. Not only that, in the end of the song, my mom had the cutest laugh. And when we recorded her with Ben, she started laughing right after she sang. And we decided to add that to the end of the song. Her and I laughing. And then at that, I was like, Ben, I said, Mom needs to be saying something after we laugh. So I went back to all of our old videos that we did on YouTube over the years. And there was a thing where Mom says, we love to sing and we love to laugh. And I said, we like to smile too, right, Mom? And she said, right, we added that to the very end. So it ends with us laughing. And so that's coming. And I know Mom will be smiling from heaven because she was always mad at me. We're never going to get it done. Even up until she died, she was so angry. If I talk about singing, she would get mad, you know, because she couldn't talk. She'd try to hit me, you know, because she had a little bit of dementia too. So she was so weak. She would go, you know, like, you know, and make faces at me. But I wasn't upset with her. It was just she was not well at the end. And
you know what? I think it's going to really give some closure. I mean, you know, you're never going to part from how you feel about your mother or your father, but I definitely think this is going the right way as far as giving you some closure and doing this the right way. And I have a funny feeling there's going to be lots more awards coming your way.
Yeah, no, I don't know how it works with cover songs. Like I have to research because the songs that I've so far are my originals, but I have to find out if I can even submit a cover song because the video is just going to be basic. It's just going to be photos of me and Mom, videos of me and Mom, the takes where we're just laughing. Have you seen Michael Jackson's Smile video?
Oh, love it. Love it.
It's just him. It's just video of him smiling over the year. That's what we're doing. And I went through hundreds of footage. Ben's coming on Friday. You know, we're in the process of doing the video.
If there's an award to win, you're going to get.
Now that, and my mom would be so happy. And she really has a cute voice. And I found out as I was taking care of her that she really wished she could have been a singer. She had a lot of anger and she really did have a cute voice. There was just something about her. Her voice is very nostalgic and I think people are going to love it. I recorded my vocals right after she died. And I went back and listened to them and I'm like, Ben, they sound terrible to me. And then we re-recorded them like 2 or 3 weeks ago and they're right on. Cause I think at that time I wasn't really at a good place when I recorded it. And so now I think it's ready. and that'll be coming out before Mother's Day.
You are more than ready. And you know what? I think that by you caring so much about your family and about others, you're a humanitarian. And we've talked about all the success that you've had musically. Briefly, let's talk about your humanitarian work that you've done.
Oh, wow. Well, back when there was no MySpace, no internet really, I wrote a song called God's Special Angel for special needs. I had a real heart for special needs, handicapped, orphan children. And I think that was on my first album. And people, when I did first go on MySpace, they loved that song along with Make Me a Butterfly. A lot of people that lost children to cancer, I'm now, to this day, still friends with them on Facebook. Anita Sue, my song God's Special Angel got them through the loss of their son. There's Autumn Antler, I think is her last name. I met her through my song. So and Hole in the Heart Ministries was Autumn's ministry for mothers that have lost children to either to cancer or illness. They use my song. So, and I used to sing it in my church and different things. And then God started speaking to me to go into children's hospitals. Now, this is before anything on the internet. So I actually would call, I can't believe I did this, but call the children's hospitals. And I went to like Shriners Children in Texas. I went to through MySpace, through a family that I met in MySpace. They had a burn center for children that were burned in fires. And their son, somehow they were affiliated because somebody they knew was burnt or something, a child that was in a fire. So I got to do that. I flew to Texas. Wow. And then Shriners in Northern Florida. I went to the big Shriners in there. I sang there. And then Misericordia Children's Hospital in Chicago. Misericordia is a hospital and facility for extreme special needs children that are hooked up to machines. They're never going to probably live. Some of them die as children, or they're not going to ever grow up, and live. Most of them die. It was such an experience when you went in because, of course, I could only take they were really strict about balloons. I brought teddy bears and I couldn't bring the latex balloons. These children don't speak. They're on machines, breathing machines. A lot of times the parents just can't take care of them. They're so severe. They were born with severe disabilities. So when I went there, they had to bring the children out in the hallways, in their beds and their wheelchairs. They moan and groan, but it's not like you're singing to somebody I had to stop singing throughout the time because I was crying so much. One of my friends, Nina, went at the time. She couldn't even handle it. She had to leave. It was too much for her. But my sister went and she stayed. What had happened though is when I sang God's Special Angel, one of the nurses said, "Oh my gosh, one of the children that was moving their arms and trying to talk." So it was definitely the anointing of God. And I was getting response from them as far as they were moving. And so I left a CD at that time. I still had CDs of just the song I brought in each room. And I found out through the nurses, they would play it and the kids would respond. It was like they knew. It was the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Then that same time in Chicago, Misericordia had in their downtown, another area of Chicago was this Down syndrome adults. They're all grown up. They live in this facility. They're able to thrive and live, but they live in a community. They live in this community called Misericordia, but they're adults, and they'll live a long time and they're happy and they're married. Some of them, Right. So they asked me to sing for their big event. And I was late. My friend Nina, we couldn't find the place. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I got there late. They put me up on the stage. I sang right after. It was God. It had to be God. All the Down syndrome adults started rushing to the stage.
Wow.
I've never experienced this in my life.
Oh.
And I could not stop crying. It was like the most powerful thing. It was like the love of God was so strong through them, not through me. It was through them. They're so pure at heart. And they're like, "You're an angel." you're an angel. And they're trying to touch me. And they're like, oh my, and I'm sobbing. And like, it was uncontrollable
Yeah.
because I felt like the power of the love was, they taught me more than I taught them. So
Right.
that was an experience for me. And most of the time when I've sang for these events, that's always been that way, where it's not, I teach them, they teach me. I also went to sing for the School of the Blind, here in Fort Lauderdale. And it was always God's Special Angel. That song is always, for children. But I also, for orphans, I helped an orphanage in Uganda. At that time, this is MySpace days, and we sent toys, big box. It took a month or so to get there. And I was going to go to Uganda at that time, but I would never survive. TC's and everybody's like, Amy, because I'm the type of person that has to look at the date on food. I would come back 90 pounds. I wouldn't eat. And it was like in an actual orphanage, like, where, you're not getting, even the guy who heads it said, well, you would only have like, I would be, so I can't see myself on the mission field.
I feel you. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle that, but so I helped the orphans in Uganda. We did God's Special Angel t-shirts I sent. I have pictures way back on my Facebook from back in the day of that. And then I sang for Shots Communities, which is a facility that helps all special needs. I went through a period in that time of my life where I broke out with terrible cystic acne. The reason I'm telling you this is because that was another area where God used me to have compassion on people with skin disorders, like severe skin disorders. And so I was breaking out really bad. I was asked to sing for this event. I get there depressed the whole time I'm driving because I had these big cysts on my face. And the guy that was helping me set up the sound had no eye, literally no eye. His eye was like, and he didn't have any, it wasn't like he had glasses on. Okay, so I was like, okay, God. So I go in the bathroom, I'm crying like God's trying to show me something. So I go after he helps me tear down the equipment. He said, I'll walk you to your car. And I started telling him, he said, well, I had cancer in my eyes. And they told me if I didn't take out this one eye that I would never, I would die. So it was like, he had literally no eye. It was just covered over with skin. So that was one experience. Then I found this organization is called epidermis bullosa. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. They call it the butterfly disease.
Butterfly disease, yeah.
Their skin, like our skin, attaches normally, but they're born with a rare genetic disease where their skin just falls off and most of the time they don't live. So I reached out to them. I actually became friends with several people that had epidermis bullosa. And that was another organization that touched me. Through my skin problem, you're much more, when you go through things, you're much more aware of other people's pain around you and what other people go through. So
That's
that was
right.
And then when I was singing in my church, I was a worship leader. This is years and years ago. We had a mental institute behind the church. And oh my God, I get crying when I think about this. And some of the people that lived in the mental institute would come. And there was a girl, Maribel, that would come. She had greasy hair, dandruff, was very strange. She wore a dress and it was dirty, her shoes were messed up, but she would worship the Lord. One Wednesday, I had to sing Wednesday and Sundays. I'm driving. I was in a very bad mood. I'm like, God, I hate this. I don't want to sing. I was like, this is all fake. Because when you go to church and you are in a bad mood or you're going through something, you put on a front once you get to church. And here I am, a worship leader. So I'm really having a conversation with God about this. And I don't want to do this. So I get to the church. I said, God, I'm not talking to anybody like the churchy people, the traditional churchy. So all of a sudden I had to get there early and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden Maribel walks in with this guy that's in the facility. He kind of reminds you like Forrest Gump. He was slow and he had his Bible. He talked slow. Like I describe him like Forrest Gump. They come right to me. And for some reason, like when I tell this, my heart, they wanted to talk. I felt like I was supposed to talk to them. So they say, you had the most beautiful voice. They started talking to me. I wish I could. Maribel was like, I wish I could sing. They're like telling me about your voice when you sing up there. So some reason, I can't even talk about this. I said, what happened in your life? So I started asking them. And they said, Maribel said, well, I was abused and used to be made fun of in school. And she started and she's telling me this, like, not even upset. Like because she's really severe mentally ill. And she starts sharing. And then he says, my mama was born drug addicted and turned me upside down. And I was born normal, but I got brain damage. So he's telling me that, right? And they're telling me in such a way they're not even upset. And I'm like sobbing. I mean, I'm telling you, like sobbing. So I get up. I was a worship leader and had to sing all the solos. So this is before service starts. So we had a prayer time in the front where the worship team gets up, and then people from the church can get up. Well, they're holding me up. I'm like sobbing, and these two people that I'm like crying about, it's like I was taking on all their pain at that moment, and they're trying to help me wipe my eyes. They're like wondering. So I get up. I couldn't even sing. I'm like sobbing, wailing. I'm telling like wailing, and the worship team, the drummer, all of them are playing. Nothing's coming out. I had the microphone. I'm wailing. The pastor just gently, like 5 minutes pass by. He comes and he pulls me off the stage. And God told me to get Maribel Easter gifts. So I ended up getting her, taking all the money my parents sent me for Easter. That's when they still lived in Maryland, used to send me gifts for holidays.
Yeah.
And I bought dresses and shoes and, so I have all these stories because, I haven't had so much now in my life because I went through the story of my parents. But back then, before all the internet days, I was a worship leader. I would go out. It was like a ministry type thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then Facebook came and Twitter came and Instagram came, and which I find sometimes very stressful, social media. So
I tell you, woo, these stories.
Yes.
But I tell you, you have really have done a wonderful job serving the Lord's will. And I think that because of that, even though the devil has tested you through your journey, God has blessed you. And the blessings are coming more and more and more and more. And I tell you, it's been an absolute blessing to have you on this show. But I want to talk about one thing before we go.
Okay.
Walking on the Stars was a TV show that you were part of. Do I Have a Hit Song?
Yeah, Do I Have a Hit Song was the TV show, and my song was Walking on the Stars. That was that was right after my album, 2016, I think, was it? I think it was 2016. Yeah. I released a fun dance song, Walking on the Stars, and started working with the gentleman who was the head of Do I Have a Hit Song. He was trying to do a show kind of like American Idol then, but with people that did original songs rather than cover songs. So it was the first, and he picked people from all over the world. Like a guy flew in from, I'm wiping my eyes because I was crying. A guy flew in from Sweden. People were in from different states, and they had it up in Jacksonville. And we filmed, and I got to sing Walking on the Stars, and I was very sick during that time. Oh my God, I had a terrible bronchitis, but I managed to film it. I didn't win the final thing, but it was such an experience. And I'm still friends with many of the people, like Brie LeBeau and I can't think of his name, David something in his last name. I met so many wonderful people at that event. And Walking on the Stars was part of a radio network. I think it was SD. I think I had it written down. There's so many things. I'm like, the top SD radio network. It made the number one that year. So that was another thing that happened. And
but
my breath
what's so funny is that the words Walking on the Stars, I thought that was a wonderful conclusion to this interview, because that's what it seems like it's been for you. You've been walking on the stars.
Yes, I think, yeah. I'm just seeing what God has next.
How do they get in contact with you, Amy?
Well, I'm on all social media platforms. I have an official website, amybarbera.com. It's my name, Amy, AMYBARBERA.com. That has all my social media and even has a place where you can contact me directly. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I mean, now it's X, but Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify channel. I have everything, Amazon, iTunes. I'm everywhere. So, but any social media platforms on my website. I'm also have a Film Freeway page that you can contact in the film area. I get contacted by a lot of film festivals because they see that I win, because Film Freeway puts all your wins up. And so I get contacted constantly on that end. So everywhere.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's been such a pleasure.
I am flying, flying, flying. I'm soaring, flying. I am soaring. Soaring, soaring, free, I'm flying, soaring, free. I am flying, soaring, flying. I am soaring, flying high. I can see the angels all around me in the sky. I can touch the soft clouds in this paradise. I can feel God's warm light surround me in this dream. I don't want to leave. I can feel a peace like I've never known. I am flying, flying, flying high. I'm soaring, flying high. I am soaring, flying free. I'm flying high. I'm soaring free. I'm at peace.
starstruck. Here's a sprinkle.